Good morning. Welcome back to Nepo's Flick On. PSG, Paris Saint-Germain are Champions League winners. I say it again, PSG, Paris Saint-Germain are Champions League winners. Enrique has led his team to fantastic success. It's been a long time coming because I tell you what, I don't think there's been a team from France that's won this trophy since Marseille in 1993. If you remember the team with Abedi Pele. Yeah, and that was back in 1993. So Paris Saint-Germain, after getting into the finals a few seasons ago, having had some of the Galacticos of this football world, the likes of Neymar have gone there, Messi, Mbappe of recent, Cavani, Ibrahimovic, to name a few. They couldn't win it with those players, but they've done it with a very young side and a very ambitious manager. And you've got to just give credit to Paris Saint-Germain. And to be fair, I've said from the start of the tournament that, PSG looked strong and they've probably had a harder run-in than Inter Milan. They've had to work hard to get to where they are, and I think they fully deserved it. And yesterday kind of just proved how far this team has come and how good they actually are. And it's actually scary to think these guys are super young players. They've got a very young squad. Okay, they've got one or two experienced players in there, like their captain Marquinhos and whatnot. But my word, what a performance. Now, I've been watching football for a long time. I don't think I've ever seen that type of dominance, Going into the game, a lot of people said, oh, yeah, Inter are going to turn them over because of the way they performed against Barcelona and some of the other matches and games that they've had. But I just thought, you know what? There is something about this PSG team. They just look so strong, so full of energy, and they've got ridiculous skill. They've got a lot of talented young players, and they will go and come back again. It could be a case. I know it feels like there's a bit of a shift in football of recent. Like some of the more prestigious and well-established clubs don't seem to be doing as well as they have been in recent years, and some of the underdogs or lesser teams seem to be getting a lot of shine of recent. And it's good for football. It's good for football. It can't always be one-sided. It can't always be, the usual suspects winning things season in and season out. You always need those anomalies to come through and shake things up. Now, if I was Mbappe waking up this morning, I'll be thinking to myself, damn. But he's a great player, and I'm sure he'll definitely win lots of things with Real Madrid. But the night and the day belongs to PSG. My word, what a performance. One-sided performance. Inter didn't really look like they offered much. Yeah, they tried in the first 10, 15 minutes, but once PSG got going, that was it. It was just relentless attacking, and it's always good to see some flair because football's been missing some flair in recent times. So seeing players, do one or two tricks, amazing. It's just what you want to see and what you want from the beautiful game. You don't want a robotic style of football whereby you're just passing from one side to the other and not going anywhere. You want to see some action. You want to see some, you want to see some running. You want to see some energy. You want to see some skills. And I tell you what, PSG, they ticked all that. They ticked all the boxes. We all banter and say, they play in the Farmers League. But listen, the Farmers League are winning Champions League trophies, and they're playing the best football. They're playing the best football. Look, we've seen what they did to all the Premiership sides that they came against earlier in the competition, and we saw how they stuck together and how they worked. But as I say, the scariest thing is that these guys are young and they've still got a lot of gas in the system, and they will go far. They will go far. They could dominate the competition for another 2, 3 years. Who knows? But I've never seen a team dominate that much, and they've done it. And evidently as well, they've now become, I think, the first side to kind of break that the scoring distance. So I think the game ended 5-0. So I don't think there's been a bigger margin in a cup final than that. So credit to them for doing that. And to be fair, it could have been more. It could have been more because they did have a couple of wasteful chances there, but it could have been more. The goals from Hakimi, Due, he scored 2, Cavastelia and Mayulu ensured that Inter Milan had absolutely no chance, zero chance. zero chance. So 5-0 to them. I felt Doué was man of the match. 2 goals and an assist. And to be fair, he has been impressive. And the guy is only 19 years old. 19 years old. So they've done phenomenally well. I think they've gone above and beyond, and they've definitely exceeded their expectations. I could imagine them sitting in the changing rooms, or Enrique saying to his players, what the itinerary is, or what the objective is for the season. But to do what they've done, having lost Mbappe, I think it's a massive turnaround for Paris Saint-Germain. Massive turnaround for them. And to add to that, you're probably going to see another team from Paris. I think they're called Paris FC, and they've just been promoted, and they've got like a massive backing as well. So it could be interesting for French football going forward. It could be interesting for French football going forward. As I say, a French side hadn't won this competition since 1993, with Marseille and the likes of Abedi Pele shining in that squad. But they've done phenomenally well, this PSG side, and I look forward to seeing more from them. Congratulations to them, and it's a solid team. The goalkeeper Donnarumma, he's done phenomenally well this season. Of course, Hakimi, Marquinhos, Pacho, Mendes on the flanks. It's been phenomenal. The midfield is solid. Neves, Vitinha, Ruiz. They're sick players, and they've got plenty to offer. From Inter's perspective, I think a lot of people fancied Inter to win it. As I say, because they've done really well as well this season. They've had a fairly good season, just missing out on Serie A as well. But they've had a good season. But I don't think the players offered enough. I didn't see anything from Martinez. Thuram didn't really offer too much, And yeah, sometimes, as I say, in these big finals, you need your big players, your top players to step up. You need them to step up, because if they don't step up, you go home empty-handed, or you go in with a silver medal, and nobody wants a silver medal. You want to win it. You're in the finals. You want to win the trophy. So credit to credit to PSG for doing what they did. They fully deserved it. They've been chasing this trophy for such a long time, so they've finally done it. I can only imagine what the Paris parade is going to be like. I mean, it's going to be hectic. I'm sure there's going to be the whole city's going to come out, and we look forward to seeing that as well. We look forward to seeing those celebrations. It's fantastic, fantastic. But football's not over yet. That would now mean Paris Saint-Germain will take on Tottenham Hotspur in the Super League. Now, if I'm Tottenham and watching the way they played yesterday, I'd be pretty nervous. I'd be pretty nervous, because they absolutely battered Inter Milan. I'm lost for words. I'm lost for words. They absolutely battered Inter Milan. But I'm sure Spurs and Big Ange, I'm sure they'll give it their best. I'm sure they'll give it their best. I don't think they're going to embarrass themselves and lose like 10-0 or something silly like that. But I'm sure they'll bring their A game as well, Tottenham. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.